What up, and greetings! Today we've got the next 7 cards coming out in One Night in Karazhan, which is out in just under a week, so we can expect the rest of the cards coming out very, very soon. And I think we've got all the legendaries come out now. Medivh was the last one I'm going to be reviewing in the part coming out tomorrow, so I'll keep you posted on that, but let's get into it so we're not here for an hour. Number 1, Babbling Book. 1 mana, 1/1. Battle Cry, add a random mage spell to your hand. So this is sort of a one-sided spell slinger. You can also imagine something like a web spinner that gave you, as a death rattle, a random beast. So you played a card and got a card out of it. This time you play a minion, you get a spell out of it. Now, getting a completely random spell might be devastating for you or your opponent, really. I mean, not that much for you, because you still get a 1/1 for 1 mana. It's quite terrible, but the spell, especially in Mage, got a lot of synergy with Flamewaker that is still going to be around for a bit. You know, Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mana Wyrm and all that good stuff. It's not as good as discovering a spell, like we've got with Ethereal Conjurer. That card is just OP because it allows you to pick a spell depending on your situation. But this card can give you a spell depending on your situation. And as I said, getting a card for playing a card, especially if it's just 1 mana, allows you to then utilize the spell, even though it's not ideal in the first time you get it, later on in the game. I think this card is balanced. It's not too crazy. It's definitely an addition to Casino Mage. Even Tempo Mage could play it. And Yogg-Saron is laughing. More random spells and more spells being played during the game, meaning that Yogg is happy. Okay, number 2. Malchezaar's Imp. Whenever you discard a card, draw a card. So it's a demon, 1 mana, 1 free, like a Voidwalker. And it's concentrated on the discard mechanics, like we had a couple of cards like Tiny Knight of Evil and Fist of Jaraxxus being added to the pool of synergies, the discard synergies that from the base it's got cards like Soulfire and Succubus and all that stuff. Discard mechanics are still in their infancy. There's a lot of different effects, but because they're not really that overpowered, they're balanced. I don't see them being played just yet. If you take a look at what Blizzard been doing with beasts for a long time, they've been trying to push the synergy, and it's only really started working lately. And I think with the new cards that are coming out, like that 1 mana 2/2 that's completely overpowered, as some people might say, it might actually start working just now, or it just started working last expansion when they've been pushing Beast Root for a long time now. So I think they still have to add a couple of cards for the mechanic to be viable. There's some more cards coming in later that I'm going to talk about tomorrow that also synergize with discard mechanics. And I might be wrong about this, but I just don't think that this card is at this point going to be more playable than Voidwalker. Because discard mechanics, I think, would be played in a sort of a zoo type of deck. But I think that the classic zoo is still gonna work better than this type of discard mechanic, but I might get surprised again. So the next one is Bookworm. It's a 6 mana free 6 that if you're holding a dragon in your hand, it destroys a 3 or less attack minion. So something like a Shadow Word Pain attached to a minion that has a prerequisite of you holding a dragon. Again, this card will probably work in some types of control decks, dragon control decks that are not priests, because priest has, let me change your mind, Cabal Shadow Priest, and that card is better than this card by far because it steals a minion. Yeah, it's only 2 or less attack, but there's not that many free attack minions being played. You know, there's the Flame Imp and what's the mage? Free 2 that raises your spell power with every spell played. I think there's a lot of 2 attack or 1 attack minions that are being played now. So let me change your mind. Sits well with it. Unfortunately, Priest is in a very, very bad spot now, and it's not being played, and it's in tier 4. Not any Priest card revealed so far, I think, from the expansion. So hopefully they're keeping the best for last for Priest. So I think this card could work in Warrior as an additional piece of removal for those pesky minions, and it might actually be put in Dragon Warrior that's being played now. That is super annoying, and I hope that it doesn't make the deck any stronger, because it's just not really enjoyable to play against. Number 4, Moros. So that's the next legendary that we have on the list. Moros is keeper of Karazhan, or servant of Medivh. He also played a role in the new Warcraft movie, if you saw it. 3 mana, 1/1, that's terrible stats, but it's got stealth, and at the end of your turn, it summons a 1/1 Steward. I don't see this card being played. You already have a Patient Assassin that is a 1 mana, 1/1 with stealth that destroys any creature, but because of that 1 health, it just dies to so much. It dies to Arcane Missiles, it dies to Ping from Flamewaker, it dies to Whirlwind effects. There's just so much stuff, like Wild Paro. You play Wild Paro and coin, and this just dies. And you wasted so much mana for this to work, in addition to some other cards that you probably put in a deck to sync with this. It might be like a Resident Sleeper card, something that I can't really see, like a lot of people couldn't see with Patron, but I don't think so. I don't think that Steward of Darkshire or some other card that spawns a whole lot of 1/1s will make this any better. I mean, it can only be once a turn. It needs to be a lot of turns for you to gain value, and I don't think it's even as good as Shade of Naxxramas that started as a 2/2, then grew itself by 1 in every turn. So after a certain time, it evaded things like Flame Strike and things like Blizzard, etc., that this will just always die to because of the 1 health. And I don't think it's worth to buff it. Shade of Naxxramas was, even though it's probably better than this, only really played in Druid. I don't see this card being played, but again, we might be surprised. Next one, Prince Malchezaar. So in Karazhan's original version, Prince Malchezaar was sort of the final boss on the top of the tower. And now he's part of the prologue that we get for free before we start Karazhan and the first wing. For 5 mana, it's a 5/6, and when the game starts, adds 5 extra legendary minions to your deck. So yeah, you start your deck with 35 cards. Is that good? I don't think so. I saw a video from this guy's Toast. I really agree with the points that he raised. From my experience playing Magic the Gathering and its deck limit being minimum of 60 cards, no one was playing more than 60 cards. Maybe sometimes someone plays 61 cards or 62 cards, but it was very, very rare. The reason being is you put cards in your deck, usually in 2 copies, and Magic in 4 copies, for you to consistently draw them. If you dilute the pool of cards, you draw them less consistently, meaning that your win conditions are less likely to appear. And your deck is built around one thing to win in one way or another. Now, if you dilute the pool with legendaries, that might be Chose, they might be Millhouse Mana Storms, they might be whatever. They're not going to be the same legendaries that you have in your deck, meaning that they're probably going to be subpar because you only put the legendaries that will sync well with your deck. And unless you're playing a mill type of deck, I don't really see the reason why you should put this over something like Elise that allows you to choose the point where you play Elise and change all of your cards into legendary minions, whereas this one just shuffles them at the beginning, and yeah, it's after Mulligan, but you might draw them as the next 5 cards, and they might all be Deathwings, or, not all of them. They might be 2 Deathwings because it's only 1 legendary per deck, but you get what I'm saying. I think that this card is a fun card. It's a demon, neutral demon, so that counts for something, but unless... Nah, I can't see it being played. It's just, from my experience with Magic the Gathering, you don't want more cards in your deck that is absolutely necessary. And because the limit in Hearthstone is 30, everyone should have or should want 30 cards. Okay, on to the next 6th card. It's called Protect the King. For 3 mana, for each enemy minion, summon a 1/1 pawn with Taunt. So this is an anti-aggro tool. which really doesn't synergize with a lot of stuff that Warrior has, like Whirlwind, like Unstable Ghoul. Ravaging Ghoul, sorry, Unstable Ghoul is rotated out. It synergizes very well with Bolster, and is one of the few cards that I can see being played with this. It sort of stops the flow when you're being attacked, and when you play Protect the King, when someone played Forbidden Shaping before, you trade equally with the Forbidden Shaping, and the person might have spent 7 mana, and this is sort of Unleash. The stationary, instead of having charge, it has got Taunt. For the amount of minions, you got the amount of minions. But for 3 mana, if you summon, 7 minions, and the opponent's minions are 1/1, then you top it out with Bolster for 2 extra mana. Then you're pretty happy. You got a full board of free freeze for 5 mana. 2 cards, not a bad deal. I think this card is pretty good. It will help you survive until you draw into your brawls, and it will help you draw out the game more versus, decks that you are quite struggling against. With Zoo and with Shaman, this will help a lot. Even against Token Druid, this might be pretty good because, it will just, slow down, or it will kill all of their wisps before he manages to buff them. That is a really good deal. I think Protect the King is actually one of the better cards that have been revealed so far. Don't really think that Warrior needed any more stronger cards because it has like 3 archetypes now that is tier 1 or tier 1, tier 2. Warrior is doing very, very good. Give us some priest love, Blizzard. Give us some priest love. We're waiting. 7th and last card on our list is Kazam. Summon a 1/1 candle, 2/2 broom, and a 3/3 teapot. For 5 mana, it's a warlock spell. Is this a zoo tool? It is sort of the new force of nature, but the stat distribution is different. It's 1/1, 2/2, 3/3. That helps when you're trying to trade the best. I think this card is actually better in Reno than it is in Zoo. And I say that because Zoo doesn't really care about tokens, and for 5 mana, getting a 6/6 in total of stats isn't that great for Zoo. When it can have something like a Flame Whip, which is a total of, 5 stats for 1 mana, is awesome and amazing. Or there's just so much more valuable minions that are lower cost in Zoo than this card can provide, in my opinion. I mean, it serves as a flood of the board, but it's only 3 minions. I think Forbidden Shaping does that better in combination with Knife Juggler or something like Darkshire Councilman. I mean, I love the aesthetic. It is sort of Beauty and the Beast aesthetic with the living teapots and all that, or maybe Alice in Wonderland sort of thing. I think it's just a balanced card. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's going to be played, to be honest. Even in Reno, nah, not too great. Not too great. Karazhan. Okay, and that's it for part 2 of my review. I will post part 3 tomorrow. The next 5 cards, or it might be 7 or 8 cards, before I manage to record it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about the new cards in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more Hearthstone content. Until next time, bye! And take care!